See, and now we can continue having those laughing conversations about the fourth nipple.
Yeah.
We really should have started with everyone just laughing as if someone had told a very funny joke. Like we're coming in from a commercial break in a sitcom.
We're coming in hot with the fourth nipple thing. Yeah, you are actually in right now to a brand new episode of Long Box Funk. That's me. I'm Chris, and I'm joined by yet another super fantastic creative duo. We got Joshua over here, we got Will down here, and I am stoked to talk to the two of you. I have heard from my fellow podcasting Chris friend that you guys are a whole bunch of fun, and so I have been looking forward.
He's a dirty fucking liar.
God, but I mean, at least his beard game is strong. And
yes,
yours is also strong, Joshua. And like, man, I'm a little bit in beard envy. And like, I tell my wife that I get beard envy from, people that we see at cons or whatever. And they just have these massive fucking Viking beards. And I'm like, I'll never be like that. And she's just like, yeah, you're right. I would cut it off in the middle of the night. I'm not doing. And I was like, okay, cool.
See, I'm lucky with the kind of support that I have because my wife she inversely will not allow me to cut it. As she said, I asked her one time, I was like, what if I just cut the beard and went with the mustache? And she said, I have the papers ready already. I would just...
Well, that's because you offered just the mustache. Like, of course, I would have the papers for myself if I tried to. Like, I obviously do the anti that because it's even worse. I don't know how you deal with the hair in the mouth like that.
I everything tastes like beard oil. Everything in the world tastes like Wild Willies.
Funny enough, I did the opposite. I did cut into a mustache last October. Wait, was it October? I don't know. What is time? But I did a Ted Lasso costume, and so I cut everything except the mustache, and then I had to go to a friend's wedding the week later. So
you left it and you waxed it and did all the.
I tried to grow it back in, and it almost worked. So I was just like, keep the kids away from this guy.
Yeah. I don't know about that guy over there. I told my barber, like, I'm never allowed to trim my own beard again because I was trying just to like trim it down, and the freaking guard slid all the way to all the way against the clippers themselves. I'm like, and just like huge patch of like super short. And I was like, damn it. Now I got to do the whole face. And I similarly, I shaved to just a mustache and like the soul patch thing here for Halloween. 2 years ago, I was Zach Baggins from Ghost Adventures because I love that show. And she went as Erin Goodwin, and like she was just goofy on camera. And like we shot our own whole fake Ghost Adventures episode, which is on YouTube, by the way. You can find it. Good luck though. And I left it for the next day. And just walking around, like going to church and stuff, I was like, no, I can't do like just straight across middle of the day. I was like, I can't do just the mustache. Like I can't do it.
See, I've gotten in trouble at my church because more than once I have had a terrible fashion decision that I chose specifically because I'm on our worship team and I'm and it's a pretty diverse church. So on the one hand, you have like a pretty like multicultural community there, and on the other hand, you do have some folks that are a little bit more fundamentalist, a little bit more conservative, and I live for the reaction that I get from that section of the church specifically. Yep. I'll have I don't know how big you are into video games, but I had a shirt from Hollow Knight where the protagonist there has kind of little horns on the top of his. Not sure if it's a mask or a head, but I wore that shirt at church on Sunday, and then that afternoon the pastor received a text about me wearing a shirt with the devil on it. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I was like, love you. You are the reason I wear what I wear to church.
Yep. Last thing I'll say about church, then we'll get into the actual reason that we're here. But I used to work at like a really large church that had satellite locations, and it was like fundamental in my growth and all that stuff. But when I was working there, I was on the tech crew and I was doing video surprise. And one of the guys in the worship band who played keys and occasionally played guitar would always wear the most ridiculous shirts or shorts. And like one time he had an all matching like ramen noodle tracksuit.
Hell yes.
And, like the hoodie was, the cup of noodles on his chest, and then the legs just looked like the noodles. And he was just playing that like super casually, like all morning. And it was just like, dude, at some point, someone's going to have to say something. And our worship leader was like, he's too good though. We have to let him do it. I was like, can you just tell him, like, can he just like maybe bring it back a step or two? And then in like a Hawaiian shirt that had hot dogs all over it. And the shorts were like buns. And he was like, "What? You don't like my buns?" All day, dude. I was like, "Okay, okay, all right. Can we go back to the ramen, please? That'd be great." You gotta have fun. You gotta have fun.
Absolutely. My pastor will allow me to wear a kilt only like around Christmas, because my ancestry is mostly Scottish, and and I don't own dress pants. So when everybody is supposed to be, dressing all nice for Christmas, I'm just in a skirt. So
that's so good.
And they're like, what if somebody sees? I'm like, we're a small church. That stage is like 6 inches high. I don't think anyone's seeing under that thing. So.
Even if they're like laying down overcome, they're not going to see up the.
Oh yeah,
you just bring a chair. You bring a chair and you do the basic instincts.
Exactly.
Yeah. The double leg cross.
I did accidentally flash every single person at my wedding, and now my my in-laws know what my junk looks like, because all my groomsmen decided it'd be fun to lift me up for a picture, like legs up and everything, because they're all ADHD and don't think through what that implies when you're wearing a kilt. So.
Amazing. That's so good. I don't have anything nearly that controversial about my wedding day, which is probably good for me, because my wife's side is very traditional in their ways.
our parts of our family can be pretty traditional as well. And they're the ones I wear the skirt for.
Perfect. I love it. I love that, like, when we go live and doing this live, that these types of conversations can come on, especially when people tune in and they're like, what have I been missing? Nothing. We just started here. We started at 11 because it's been a Monday and I knew that I needed to have a good laugh. So I appreciate the two of you just being willing to get into, kilts and stuff with me. Let's talk about why we're here, though. And that's because you guys have a badass comic book, and the 3rd issue of Southtown is coming. It's launches in July. Yeah.
The Kickstarter launches in July. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We are. It's in pre-launch right now, so you can still save it and follow along. You'll get the notification when it goes live. But I just finished pencils on page 13. Working on the ink. So the first half is completely done, like fully colored, fully lettered. So I'm just kind of like working the back half while the Kickstarter is going. So we're hoping to have everything completely ready to go by like early to mid-August.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and writing is, because writing is just a very quick process comparatively. We are writing is done through issue 20, and and I've just started, although I think I am probably gonna redo some of it, issue 21, but that's like, this first whole story arc is 10 issues long, and the second one is also 10 issues long, so I have finished 2 full story arcs writing wise. So I also started that a good bit before. Like I started it well before I met Wil as well. So
Got it.
I
Okay.
had a little bit of a head start.
A little bit, but he's catching up. So, you know.
Oh yeah,
little by little.
he's
Totally
fucking
fine.
killing it.
I do. I love. I'm such a fan of like cyberpunk and like sci-fi in general, but I've always loved bright neon colors. And so, like, as soon as I saw the Kickstarter page, I think I missed the campaign for 2, and then but was looking through that Kickstarter page, and it was like, oh no, this is like right up my alley. And I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, Will, you're taking over colors as of the 3rd issue going forward, right?
Yeah. I picked up colors on issue 3. We had a color team for 1 and 2. They had moved, and then just kind of like they kind of pivoted artistically, and were a little overwhelmed between like day job and that kind of thing. So I kind of took that off their plate. They're still definitely like part of the the original creative team, and we're still good buds.
Yeah, Allie is actually. I would say Allie is the reason the comic book is happening at all, because this all started for me as just sending emails back and forth with friends while I was burnt out at an office job, and working at a corporation I didn't really care for too much. Of course, I won't mention Capital One by name, but
yeah.
But I'm just not built for an office job, and so while I was burnt out, I was, sending emails back and forth to friends with just stupid stories of us being a hacker gang in a cyberpunk dystopian world. It ended up evolving until some of those friends were like, "Hey, you should actually make this into a story." And I do not have the attention span or the skill set to write a novel. And I was like, I can't draw for shit, so I can't make a comic book. And then I was at a concert going to see a concert. We were going to see this band, The Midnight. It's a synthwave group.
Okay.
And they, while I was there, we ended up running into Allie and her partner. And I was there with a friend of mine who fortunately is very significantly more sociable than I am. So when we went for dinner afterwards, she invited them to join us. We did. Turned out Allie was an artist, and she was very interested in getting in on the comic, and that's when it started actually becoming a thing. And originally she was going to be the artist on it, but her, like, stylistically, it wasn't quite the right fit as far as her illustrative style. She has this amazing style that is like largely informed by like, Will, you would be able to speak to better like what those influences might be, but like anime or not anime, manga,
more manga oriented. She's a very, I don't know, like sort of like Junji Ito without the gross stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
It wasn't super compatible style wise. There's one character in the comic that's based on me, and when I saw his character design, I was like, he is too pretty, he's too attractive, like it doesn't fit the character. And she was like, I can't make him not pretty. But she ended up introducing me to Will, and immediately, like, I think one of the first correspondences I got from you after just like, hey, how are you, was like some concept art for 1 or 2 of the characters, and immediately it was like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think your only note on DOS was just don't make him so thin.
Right. Yeah. I was like, I'm like 230 pounds. Like, this should not be like like this should be a dad bod, not a daddy. So
as far as like pretty characters go, there's a character we're introducing in the 3rd issue, and my concept for him and what I told Joshua was like, I want him to look like he smells bad.
Yeah.
Like, you should be able to smell him through the page.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even just you saying that, I immediately am picturing a guy that's definitely not named Aaron from high school that just always had a funk. Like he used to fall asleep in study hall, and he always wore a leather jacket, which is probably why he stunk. But he would fall asleep and drool, and we would like all kind of gather around and see how far the drool was going to go down his sleeve before it landed on his other arm that was underneath. It was such a fun game. I wonder what ever happened to definitely not Aaron. Wonder what he is these days.
High school drool races. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, what else are you doing in study hall, right?
Yeah.
Not much.
What are you doing in
is the
class?
answer. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's also not much.
That was more me, but
Oh yeah, I hated school so much. Like I like starting in middle school. I think sometime around 6th or 7th grade was the last time I ever did homework, and I would just like go into class and deliberately like bags down, head on desk, like I wanted the teacher to know. I just didn't give a fuck because I was an angry little teenage asshole, and but I tested well, and which tricked a lot of people into thinking I was smart.
Yeah. Listen, if
Yeah,
you
there was,
can test well, it's all you need. You don't have to know stuff. You just have to be able to take the test to show that you do when you don't.
Right.
go.
Absolutely.
There was a band, Death by Stereo, and this song came out after I somehow graduated. But they had a song. The title was "High School is Boot Camp for a Desk Job."
Yep.
And it's wildly accurate.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I am writing that down because yeah, that feels super. I can't talk and write at the same time. High school was boot camp for a desk job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they named their band after a line from the Lost Boys. They actually used the audio clip on their first album. It's when I can't remember if it was Corey Haim or Feldman that did it, but they basically shot an arrow through a stereo into a vampire and blew him up. And
Nice.
he basically just goes, "Death by Stereo." And like, yeah. Everybody in 1987 was like, "That's so cool."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I love watching. I only recently watched Lost Boys like start to finish because it was always a movie that had been on and I just never paid attention to it. And then so I'm a huge horror fan. And every October I put together a list and it slowly grows. And I don't just the movies. I'm like, no. I want to watch a movie from every decade. I want to watch a movie that has something to do with the setting is a place of water. And the title has a number in it, a sequel, 2 movies that have the same character played by different actors, like very specific things that I found on a subreddit because I'm not that creative to come up with the list on my own. And one of the movies was you got to watch a vampire movie. And I was like, it's past time I watched Lost Boys start to finish. And so I just watched it I want to say 3 years ago. And I was like, why have I not watched this before? And I definitely remember, as soon as you said Death by Stereo, I'm familiar with the band, but I didn't realize it was from that movie. That makes it even cooler. So,
well, the movie is wildly distracting in that the saxophone guy just takes the wind all the way out of the sails of the narrative. 20 minutes in, you're just like, oh, saxophone guy.
Yeah.
Dude.
I have a friend who ordered a cameo from that guy for himself.
Nice. Dude, Lost Boys, I never saw it until a year or 2 ago because I have this massive list of movies that it's I feel like I should have seen before, even if I don't think I'll like them. Just they're part of the zeitgeist that it's I know I should have been exposed to by now.
Yep.
And there's so many horror movies that are on that because I grew up not liking horror at all because it was especially most of the horror that people wanted to watch around me were like slashers or the torture porn and stuff. And I was very much it's I've been stabbed in real life and it's fine, but when you put the screeching violins and when you put good cinematography and sound design around it and you watch it, it's suddenly so much worse than it's oh, I've had that same knife wound that I just watched in the movie, but now that I see it, it's suddenly worse than what I remember.
So much worse.
Yeah. And so it's I never wanted to watch horror. And then I started getting introduced to some of the way more fun stuff. Like Evil Dead now is like one of my favorite movies. But like
Evil Dead wall.
yes,
all things are Bruce Campbell or Ash, or he signed my laser disc, and I like put down the case, and he was like, "Is this a fucking laser disc?" I was like, "Uh-huh." Well, it's not the disc, but yeah. He was like, "I don't think I've ever signed one of these before." Okay, and like I was like, "Hell yeah."
Hell yeah. But yeah, like there's like a huge list of movies, and a lot of them like I hadn't seen any of the Alien movies or Predator movies until like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And now they're like, you know, like, of course, all these movies are like incredible. And now I watch them and like, I'm mad that I hadn't seen them. But it's also, there's some stuff like not even just like I'd never seen the fucking Goonies until last year. Okay. When I saw it, I was like, how did I miss this? And so like, I have a huge list of movies that is like, I know I should have seen these, and like, they're on my list, but
I love lists like that because I've always watched movies. Like I used to just disappear in my room. I didn't have friends that I would like go out with on the weekends or whatever. I would sit in my room and watch movies, or go to my buddy's house and watch movies. And like, that's what we did. And so I've seen a ton of movies. There's still a ton that I haven't seen. Like I hadn't seen An American Werewolf in London until last year. And it's like still considered one of the greatest werewolf transformations on film of all time. And I was like, I've never seen it. And so I watched it and I was like, yeah, okay. And I just like, all right, it's cool. I mean, to get the rest of that hour and a half movie just for like a really awesome, 3-minute scene. Yeah. It wasn't for me, but I've seen it now.
The Piccadilly Massacre at the end is pretty great.
That's true.
Just like cars driving into everything, just masses. Like the wolf only kills like 2 people. The rest of them are vehicular homicide, basically.
Yeah, it's Grand Theft Auto, but with a werewolf.
Just like a werewolf just happens to be around. We have an Alamo theater here, and they do a lot of retro screenings, and they actually showed that on the big screen. Not too long ago, I took a buddy of mine who'd never seen it to see it, and the ending just baffled him. Just like it's like the spoiler alert on a 40-year-old movie. Werewolf cornered, bang, dead, cry, credits. And the what is it? It's like the doo-wop version of Blue Moon that just immediately smacks into the credits playing, and it's just like. It's perfect though. It's like, how else are you going to end that movie?
Yeah. You've had all this insane buildup. You can't do anything but like just cut it off at the knees, and then bam, credits. I love when movies utilize that like bam credit thing, because you're like, wait, like you spend the entire movie with this anticipation, and then you finally get this chaotic payoff, and right in the middle of it, they're like, nope. Ending.
Yeah, I've been lately I've been getting really into like more recent super campy horror shit that like that feels like it should have been from like the 80s and stuff, that like the stuff that says, hey, we love old horror stuff and we have $65. We're going to go make a film. Like there's this one that I know Will has heard me talk about it a number of times when we've had our meetings, and but there's this one, it's on Prime Video. It's called Max Reload and the Nether Blasters. And it's incredible. And it's the dumbest thing of the devil is trying to invade the modern world with his demon army through an old retro video game that he has to trick this like absolute loser gamer dude into playing on his live stream to unlock the demon army. And it's amazing. And it's like there's so many movies like that are just like, it's like you watch the movie and it's like, the only reason I can tell that this movie was made in the 2020s and not in like 1983 is because of like the resolution.
Yeah, it's actually clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a movie like that called Dude Bro Party Massacre 3.
Oh hell yeah! Immediately
and
on board.
Look it up. There's not a 1 or a 2.
Perfect. I love that.
They are recapped at the beginning of the movie. You could tell that like the entire budget was spent on cameos by Patton Oswalt and Andrew WK.
The thing that I love with like for example that one like there's this one Necrotronic that is also really good. It's a New Zealand movie with these plumbers trying to stop like who are from a line of necromancers, which somehow doesn't mean like wizards who bring back the dead. It means people who stop demon armies from invading through the internet, which is somehow the job of porta potty technicians. And it's like that one so clearly like they just had a budget just to bring in oh my god, I'm blanking on the guy's name. It's Faramir from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's okay. David something. But it's like their huge cameo was also a guy that probably like they probably could have yeah, they probably could have spent like $200 on cameo and been like, hey, instead of going online, just show up at this location and film. We've got you for 45 minutes and we're going to use it for this film.
Yeah, just read a couple lines. We'll edit everything in. It'll make it look like you're there with us. It'll be we'll give you credits. What else do you want?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think the Andrew WK cameo in Dude Bro 3, it's like he's the guy that gives them the tour of their cabin, but he's also just Andrew WK. They didn't put him in a costume. He's wearing like the white denim in the shirt. And then like he's just like acting like himself, and then like the scene ends with like a high five that turns into a hand hug. I mean, 10 out of 10, no notes. Like,
yeah, no, I'm here for it. The best I can have is, so while I was working at that church, I turned our video control room into like, I just changed the multi-viewer into one massive screen that was on our wall, because we had like used a projector for it. And so I made it one massive screen. And in between like doing my day stuff and then an event for that night, I was watching a movie called Manborg. And it's as bad as it sounds. And it was like, everybody, it's in the future. And there's warring, there's like rival clans that are, warring against each other. And the special effects were literally just like, we have some cardboard that we painted silver and we're going to like tape it on your arm. And like, that's you're a cyborg now. And so it's that. And a guy had just like was hacking into a dude's head and beheading him with a chainsaw. And one of my volunteers walked in and it was like, and the blood squirting everywhere. And he's just like, I fucking love you, dude. I'll be back. And I was just like, all right, thanks, Austin. So good. So speaking of movies, like do how's this for a transition? Like, so Southtown is cyberpunk. It's very like dystopian future. Are there like, I know in the Kickstarter, it's like Blade Runner meets The Wire. Blade Runner was another movie that I didn't see until 2049 came out. And I was like, well, if I'm going to watch the new one, I'm going to watch the old one. And so I watched the old one. And then someone was like, did you watch the Ultra Director's Cut, a super special edition with 7 extra seconds that totally changed the narrative? And I'm like, no, I just freaking watched the movie on Netflix. Like, what are you talking about? But like, did movies like that that came out in the 80s that were dystopian with the sci-fi future thing, because that was a really big thing, even with like anime, with like Ghost in Shell, and I'm blanking on all of the other ones, Eon Genesis, like all of those, like the dystopian future was a big deal for like 8 years in cinema. Like, did those 8 years play a part in why, when you were like, dude, screw the man and not Capital One, whatever the corporation happened to be, like, were those influencing you in wanting to set your stories in that like setting?
Absolutely. it's been like my influences for like I've always had a real affinity for that cyberpunk genre. It feels in a lot of ways like one of the most like relatable and yet so like highly overly stylized um dystopian genres, and that that kind of hyper stylization of it and making it cool while it also like fully like tells you this stuff is like really fucked up and it's really bad, and you know despite what a lot of dystopian fandoms on social media will tell you, like, you shouldn't want this. uh, um, but uh, but while it tells you that, it also makes standing up against it really cool, but still in a pretty nihilistic way. I always appreciated that because it helps me process a lot of my general anger. Because you know, I don't like anyone with more power than me, and it's not it. Like I less in a prideful like I have to be the one with the most power, more in that like I've just always had a very strong anti-authoritarian streak, and
Yeah.
and especially over the past however many years, it has been uh, uh, it has been very cathartic for me to dive hard into a neon soaked hyperbolic version of a lot of what's happening nowadays, where you get to pull out a absolutely improbable cybernetic gun, and actually like physically and out loud rage against the machine, and so it's always been very cathartic for me, and a lot of it growing up was the old 80s action and like sci-fi type stuff, like your John Carpenter, your
Mhm.
uh, uh, Lost in New York, or Escape from New York. Home Alone 2 was a massive influence on my cyberpunk stories. Yeah, but
I mean, have you ever tried to eat a whole pizza in the back of a taxi cab? Change your life.
Touche.
But there was there was also a lot of like video games that were a big influence for me aesthetically. Stuff like Streets of Rage is a
I'm
big
so happy
influence.
you mentioned that game.
I was just playing in 2020 they had the Streets of Rage 4, and I'm a massive fucking fan of Streets of Rage 4, and I was just playing it again yesterday. And I'll be playing it when I get off of here. but
That's perfect.
but like a lot of those like old like 80s and 90s beat 'em ups, and the there's a movie that's like, it's one of my favorite films of all time. It's not a great film, but it is one of my favorites. And it's when I say that, it makes it sound like it's less good than it is. It is a very good film, but Mystery Men from like the
Yeah.
late 90s.
Yeah.
It's like that was one of those movies that low key had a really kind of cyberpunk aesthetic. It didn't have cyberpunk themes at all, but it had that neon drenched, extremely crime ridden, low life kind of vibe to it that that really, really worked for me. And it was that, and it was spending a lot of time reading like William S. Gibson and Bruce Sterling and a lot of these stories of like William Gibson is one of my favorite authors, and that whole Sprawl trilogy with Neuromancer and Count Zero and Mona Lisa Overdrive, just the extremely nihilistic stuff that it manages to still make cool. And like for me, that sort of like, you're never going to actually beat the system like the system is kind of insurmountable at this point kind of vibe to it, had a really interesting way of hitting home the fact that it still matters that you stood up against it, even if you didn't like take it down. Like Dylan Thomas says, rage against the dying of the light. And, most of my favorite poetry has the word rage in it. But yeah, it's, I've always been drawn to the idea of like, make it look cool, make it feel cool, and also don't shy away from the fact that like these are, real themes and shit that actually happens. Like nowadays, I don't think I can be creative enough to create a dystopian world that is more fucked up than just real world.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So flipping that, then, Will, do you feel like are you also influenced by cyberpunk stuff, or were you just fully on board when you pitched all this?
Yeah, I was a fan of, my dad got me into Blade Runner probably earlier than I should have. And that the original movie has not aged incredibly well, but I prefer 2049, if I'll be completely honest. I think Danny Villeneuve blew it out of the park. But in high school, after I stopped, I kept being a nerd. I just turned into a punk nerd. So skateboarding, listening to bands like Propaganda and Good Riddance gave me a very healthy disdain for the government and authority.
Yep.
And honestly, I made a comic book for my senior project, which is probably what got me out of, they just wanted me out of the school. There's like, I wasn't a troublemaker, I was just annoying. But I did a comic book. I made like a single, it was going to be a 4-issue thing. I only made one. And every time I go back to my hometown, people are like, I still have that comic you made. I'm like, please throw it away.
Can you burn that?
But honestly, like it was highly influenced by, of all things, Tank Girl the movie.
Oh yeah.
So
okay.
I just created this little band of punks, and honestly, what Joshua put together on the page is probably the closest thing to that original concept that I came up with when I was 18. So it's almost full circle for me, which is pretty fun. Cool. And I'm pretty excited to go to this convention in my hometown later in November and prove to everyone I can put out a second issue and a third. I think I'm going to frame the second issue and just have like a plaque, kind of like the Iron Man, proof Iron Man has a heart, proof Will Smith can make a second issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was
but get the plaque for the CGC so you can have the comic graded.
That's the way to do it.
But yeah, I always liked the concept of just like this futuristic world where things could be great, but everyone's still struggling. So. And I got into it. We're both in this cyberpunk group on Facebook that is just annoyingly just full of AI. Occasionally they'll throw some stuff in there, and they got discussing the movie Elysium. And I think that movie is unnecessarily maligned. I actually really liked it.
I loved it.
But that's like one of the best examples of like the high tech, low life disparity. I think with working on Southtown, like we're hitting the lowest of the low. Like we're not going to venture into the richer districts of River City for a while, I don't think.
I can tell you, like, I am starting to write that stuff now, and I'm like I said, I've already written 20 issues.
There are like glimpses of it in the first issue as one of the characters is kind of making their way through to the bridge that takes them to Southtown. But I just really love the contrast of using like super bright colors and just making everything look dirty. Like it's like, oh, it's so pretty, but I don't want to touch it.
I always loved the idea that, like, that like of the medium serving the purpose to tell the story, that like all the technology that we create to move society forward, it does not fix the human condition. So that was all a lot of it. It's like, oh, is there, greed and disparity and, abuse of what's given to you? Yeah, having a cool microchip in your dick won't fix that.
Are you going to cure cancer? How about laser eyes?
Yeah, it's like, listen, we could solve hunger. Yeah, we could solve hunger. Or the people that control all those decisions could get another yacht.
I mean, yeah. Man. Those are always the comparison, and sometimes it's just to like rage bait people. And usually it works enough to get me into the comments, and then I start reading. I'm like, damn it, I fell for it again, and then I just rage quit the app instead of responding. But did you know, if you took the price of his toe ring and you sold that, you could feed all of South Africa for 17 months. It's like, what? That's insane. So yeah, the disparity, and it's more timely than ever. It feels as that like this is a safe space in a punk show, so I can have some edge. Like the tax breaks going to the billion and quadrillion super alien heirs, and then but you're taxing me more. Like the amount of taxes that I'm paying more, the billionaire makes in like 7 minutes. So what why are you taxing me?
And then they fucking
we forget that money is a man-made construct.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then they tell you that
it's all a construct.
Yeah, and then they tell you that it's fucking Miguel down the street who's making it hard for you to support your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Hate it, dude. Oh God. Oh, so many soapboxes I could get on. I'm gonna drink my liquid death.
And that's honestly, like, for me, that's very much like one thing that's a little bit of a challenge for me with writing the comic, but also part of what makes writing the comic so cathartic for me is the challenge of how do I take this and be authentic with it. This is mine, and if you are the only person who buys a copy, then I'm still not going to really listen if you tell me I need to do something different from what I'm doing with the comic, because this is very much a labor of love for me and Will, in as much as I absolutely love and appreciate all the people who support us and who enjoy the comic and want to see more and all that stuff. But we don't make it for you. We make it for us. I write it for me, and he draws it for him. And I tell myself in my brain that he draws it just for me. And but sorry, I'm ADHD, and often the sentence that I begin is not the same one that I finish. But one of the challenges for me drawing is not trying to make it marketable, but just making it something that can be cathartic instead of just fueling my rage. Is how do I make this authentic story that addresses the parts of this reality that I want to address? How do I make that still fun to read? And how do I make that still a fun and entertaining, not just engaging story to go through? I want it to be I want it for me as the writer and for readers to feel good to go through it, even though full well that what the characters are going through is often not going to feel good for anybody. And two, that I mean, in issue 2 we have somebody who dies in seemingly the most random moment of their life, and immediately the person next to it just starts picking their pockets while their brain is still just spilling out over the ground. But so it's like it's not good for them, but it's like I still want it to be fun. Like I still want that dude getting his brains blown out to be kind of funny and enjoyable to watch. And because it's like, otherwise, like if I just wanted to shout at the system, I have plenty of ways that I can do that, and do that every day. But and I get to see people in my family and people around me who have become hyper political in ways that it's like that I can see, like, even when they are doing the right thing, constantly I'm watching it poison them, because these are people that are like are losing grip of the capacity to feel joy, because a fascist is doing everything he can to change the world, to take away our ability to, have joy while also standing up and doing the right thing. And it's like you're doing the right. The people that I'm talking about, like, are doing the right thing. They are standing up where a stand needs to be made. But I'm also seeing this, like, they have no capacity anymore to have a conversation that doesn't turn towards Trump or immigration or protests. And I want there to be something that kind of fuels you from the inside, to where it's like I can have a little bit of joy and light from I want a light that I can stick my gasoline soaked rag into to start a fire and throw.
Yeah, like, how do you, I mean, as Chris mentions, like, how do you prevent all of us that want to get on all of these soapboxes and just feel that, like, burning rage of fury? Like,
oh, don't get off, like, don't not get on the soapbox, especially right now. We have a literal fucking dictator who's trying to use authoritarian tactics to take over the country that most loudly is supposed to represent democracy and freedom. So don't get off your soapbox, but do not put yourself in a position where you are not being refilled. Kind of like you say, like you're a church folk, so you're familiar with a lot of the language that goes around in the church community of be a vase filled to overflowing, so that you can provide for those out, so you can provide outward. And I would say, in the same way, take care of your fucking mental health, take care of your joy, protect your personal well-being, and from that position find strength that you can use to do things. So it's like if you need your fucking Mumu, or your Squishmallows, or your sugary ass $7 coffee in the morning, or whatever it is that you need to, like, to be filled psychologically and emotionally, as well as just physiologically, do whatever it is. And for me, that is writing stories that are fun and entertaining, and engaging with stories that are funny or cool, or make me just rise up with that, like, rhinoceros in a china shop kind of a feel of, like, man is what I am. Like those kinds of feels. And that's what gives me the energy to go and say things that only a white guy can get away with saying to ICE agents down in the hood where I work. So so it's, don't not get on your soapbox, but do not drain yourself by guilting yourself into thinking that, like, don't guilt yourself out of finding the joy and internal emotional strength that you need to be able to do that and continuously do that. And for me, that is watching dumbass movies and playing Streets of Rage 4 and writing funny stories where people are willing to are are willing to basically sell all of their privacy and their souls to corporations so that they can get a cool robot arm. So yeah.
Nice. No, that's all good stuff. Will, same. Is creating and making art and working on Southtown, like, does it have the same cathartic effect for you?
I think so. I have a blast just drawing, people getting their eyes and throats gouged out. I'm working on, like, the pages I'm working on right now is like the big action set piece of the issue. One thing I think Joshua's done a really great job with is balancing like the narrative and the action. So like there's always like something big happening in the issue, while also driving the plot forward. But yeah, so I'm into the nitty gritty of this one, and there's some fun deaths. There's some mayhem happening. It takes place in a strip club, or a club with naked dancers. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So also, I think I've drawn more boobs in this issue than I have previously. So that's fun for me as well. So
Got it.
It's a good outlet. Everybody likes boobs. Everybody, like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who.
It's
my
also,
fiance and I talk about this a lot.
it's also really fun to create something like, I'm kind of a firm believer in the idea that there's nothing new under the sun. Everything basically has been done before, and everything that gets done now is mostly just an amalgamation of what already exists. But which for me is also kind of a freeing thing creatively, because I'm no longer obsessing over the idea of what I'm doing having not been done before, and I can just be doing what's authentic to me. But there are elements to what, like combinations that I haven't seen put together, and opportunities, even when things have been done before, opportunities to contribute to forward motion. For one thing that I haven't seen before, I haven't seen cyberpunk stories in the Mid-Atlantic. We set a cyberpunk story in Richmond, Virginia, because it is the biggest city that's close to where I'm from, out in the sticks, and little non-town of Montpelier, Virginia. I think now it is legally classified as a town because there are enough people there now. But when I was growing up, it was an unincorporated community, and you could stand at the speed limit sign where it technically started and look down the road and see the speed limit sign where it ends.
Awesome.
And it's like a couple hundred people had their mailing addresses Montpelier, and none of us actually lived inside of it, because inside of it was just a post office and a Napa Auto Parts.
What more do you need, honestly?
Honestly, yeah. But it's become more now, and yeah, like, it's fun to write, to tell a cyberpunk or any sort of sci-fi dystopian story set in one of America's oldest cities, and that's not New York and not LA. And so that's a little fun. And then it's also like there's other stuff that, like, plenty of people in the sci-fi sphere are telling, heavily, queer friendly or neurodivergent friendly stories, but that is something that has only more recently been normalized. And so I enjoy being able to be part of, like, there's a lot of that stuff that, like, I'm pretty comfortable, speaking to the neurodivergent element, but I am not in a position as a straight white man to necessarily give certain kinds of commentary on the queer community in this comic, or in the POC communities in this comic. And so I think it's wiser that I don't necessarily try to tackle, race politics and shit. But I do, but what I can at least be a part of is normalizing certain things. So like Will talked about the character that's introduced in issue 3, and he's based on a close friend of mine who is autistic, and I was like, how can I, represent this character in a way that, like, I have no interest in like putting on the page like hi, I'm blank and blank, and I'm like, and I have exactly this thing going on with me. But
Yeah.
it's like if I write a character that's based on this guy I know who is autistic, and I can make that character effectively nuanced. Autism is not the character bio. It is, and also for a character who is generally antagonistic through the story, make him effectively terrifying and effectively a strategic mastermind. All kinds of things that are they are not necessarily like, oh, this is what I think all autistic people are, or this is something that is subversive to the idea that he's autistic. It's just like write a character where this is true about them, and like normalize neurodivergence, normalize LGBT community members, normalize like this comic takes place in the very marginalized section of Richmond. Modern 2025 Richmond is not quite divided as black or white a way as I've put it in a comic where things have to be readily understandable, but I've basically represented Southside Richmond as the sort of, in the cyberpunk tabletop games, or in the video game, it would be like the Dogtown or the combat zone kind of the area. There's no corporate presence. There's no law enforcement presence. It is mostly run by the people there who get marginalized and who either can't afford the lifestyle of the rest of the city, or they are not interested in the way that part of the city completely invades their privacy at all times, constantly through marketing, and B, sort of forces a little bit of homogeny culturally. So in Southtown, in the comic, you have a lot of things. So my job in real life takes me generally to Southside Richmond, and I get to see really, really beautiful. It is a poorer part of town, and you'll hear stereotypes or things about Jeff Davis Highway or Broad Rock Boulevard that are absolutely true, but you also have like a really beautifully thriving Hispanic community and a Black community there, and you have all kinds of stuff that you can find there that you cannot find in the West End and all that stuff, and getting to kind of represent all those things as more nuanced than just this is the bad part of town. No, this is also the part of town where these real human beings live and have a whole life that is, dynamically pretty different from what you're finding on the north side of the river or in other parts of town. But, there are things to love about it. And it's, I like that part of town a great deal, but, and I really enjoy writing about it. But it's fun to write a story that normalizes be a part of the trend to normalize things that 20-30 years ago you were mostly seeing straight white normal like neurotypical people in most roles in stories. And like I love cyberpunk and I love a lot of 80s like science fiction, but it was the 80s. It tends to be pretty indicative of its time and that time's attitude towards certain communities. So I enjoy moving that forward.
That's cool. And it's great that you're being so intentional about moving that forward too. Like it takes an intentionality to make that choice of like, I want to authentically represent this group of people, or this type of whatever lifestyle or whatever it is. And by doing that, instead of just the like, oh, see, here's our token character, there they are,
Yeah.
like including them in a way that is impactful and isn't just like there's your, okay, you like had to hit your quota, so there's our character that checks that box. Like, you can tell when that's done, and that's what irks me about like big corporations trying to be like hip to the now of like, no, let's just be inclusive. Like,
Yeah.
I have ADHD. Sometimes I just have to stand up. Like, buying my standing desk was the greatest thing I've ever done, because now I can work standing up. If I had
Yeah.
stood up in my office, people would be like, what do you, sit down? Like, you can't just do that. Like, no, I need to though. So like, I don't know what to tell you. So normalizing that type of thing, and doing it in a part of town that you're so familiar with, like, it's easy to write. Like, one of the first pieces of writing advice I ever got was write what you know, just put it in a setting that you don't. And so like writing characters that in a cyberpunk setting is absolutely that. Like, so I'm curious, Will, have you been to like, are you as familiar with the South Side and all of those things? Like, did Joshua take you on a tour of like, here's the thing and here's where we like, how do you authentically bring his vision to life on the page?
Not necessarily. So the closest I've been to Southside Richmond, I live an hour away in Charlottesville. So we did a little art show at this brewery that's on the edge of the South Side. So it's kind of like it's the gentrifying part. But our first in-person meeting for the comic, we went to another brewery in another part of town that is across the street from the bar that is the inspiration for the Rat's Nest, which is the base of operations for the team. And this is a bar called the Locker Room.
It is my favorite watering hole.
It's one of the few, probably one of the few places in Richmond that still allows smoking indoors.
Yeah, and it has carpets, so it smells exactly like what you're thinking.
That's fantastic.
But it is 100% my favorite drinking hole in Richmond, and I was starting to write the comic while I was a pretty regular. Like, my wife and I don't really go out drinking anymore, but I was a very regular patron of that place when I started writing the place, and immediately knew I was like, the Rat's Nest from the comic like has to be based on this place.
It's so good.
Right down to the shattered jukebox.
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, the first glimpse of the Rat's Nest you see in the first issue, I think, is some of my best work, some of my best background work.
It's so fun.
Just a busted like old jukebox that has like records in it.
Yeah.
And then there's like we're gonna see a little bit more of this in more detail later on, but there is a wanted poster at the back that is just a semi-erect penis. It said wanted, picture, market price is the reward. And then there's I think there's also just like a whole wall of like Polaroids of people barfing.
That's awesome.
There's also so I'm a musician and I have a synthwave project with a friend of mine called Turbo Falcon, and I was very excited when Will decided to put a poster up in the bar that says Turbo Falcon sucks. With like 2 X's.
I love it.
I like the thing that's good for me with this is like while Joshua sets all the plot and dialogue and action and everything like that, I get to mess around with like background details and little like Easter eggs and cameos.
Yeah.
So there's definitely there's a sticker somewhere that just has Garfield that says I hate Mondays. I did drop in a poster for, I have a friend of mine is in a band called Ooga Booga. They're like a sludge metal band, And
Perfect.
their poster is in the background of issue 2. They are going on tour in Japan, and they're like
What?
a local Charlottesville band. They're going to Japan next month.
Hell
That's
yeah.
crazy. I've got a buddy
Pretty
that
wild.
like he was in a pop punk band right after high school and into college, and like they toured in Japan, and like they were a big deal in Japan. And it's
Wow.
like, dude, what in the hell? Like I think they went twice, like on tour
Oh
after
wow.
they signed the record deal. And then
Damn.
like stuff fell apart, whatever. But he's been posting. I think they're making music again, because they've been like they resurrected their Instagram profile, and by that I mean they started an Instagram profile because that wasn't a thing when we were in high school. And so like the band has this profile, and they've been putting up like all these throwback pictures and stuff of like them touring and playing these clubs and music venues in Japan, and just people are packed up against the stage.
Wow.
And I'm just like, dude, how was that your life? Like, how in the hell were you like 17 signing a record label and flying to Japan? Like, I don't understand. But yeah. Good shit. Good for them.
Yeah.
As I understand it, Japan is like really into like American rock music.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. Anyway,
listen, I'm here for it.
But-
whatever. There used to be a playlist called Big in Japan that I would listen to that was like half of them were Japanese like rock bands, and it sounded like I was listening to like the hair band, but then like the Twisted Sisters and like all Motley Crue. It sounded like that, but like in Japanese, so it was automatically better because I was like, I don't know what the hell they're saying, but this is cool. Like this is just a cool. And it was like I would put that on as I was like networking and troubleshooting stuff for work, because I was like, I don't have to worry about the music. I just want something playing. And that was another time that I had it like blasting in my studio. And another staff member came through. He was like, "What the hell are you listening to?" I was like, "You don't know this band? That's weird, dude. Get out of here."
Yeah, I went with my wife to see the Reverend Horton Heat up in DC, and one of the bands that opened for them was the 5-6-7-8s. And
nice.
I can't remember exactly what the connection
cool.
was, but they had some connection to the old Godzilla movies, and something specifically with Mothra. Like if I say that like two of them actually were like the little twins that can communicate with Mothra, I'm probably wrong. But they did a song.
That high.
Yeah, but they did that song, the Matsura, but it was like a surf punk song that they made out of it, and it was like, and I'm like the biggest Godzilla fan, and so I was like, if Reverend Horton Heat wasn't playing this show, I would probably come here just to see that surf punk version of the Mothra song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mothra's always been my favorite non-Godzilla kaiju. And like I made my mom watch the original like Japanese version where it's all dubbed, and she was just like, I'm not paying attention. There's too much happening. I'm like, fine, just keep sitting there, like you'll see.
Yeah, Mothra I really love because she has always been just straight up like force of good. Like Mothra and Anguirus and Anguirus is my favorite. In fact, I have him tattooed on on my arm. Like I'm huge, but like the two of them are the only two that have like pretty consistently just represented good. Godzilla has never been a force for good. He is a force for the Earth. So like whether or not he's a good guy in the story depends on who's fucking up the world between aliens or humans. So, because who's ever fucking up the Earth, that's who he is going to go stomp. But the thing I always loved about Anguirus is like he's notably less powerful than just about everyone he goes up against, and he doesn't give a fuck because he like Ghidorah is. I would probably argue that above Mechagodzilla, Ghidorah is Godzilla's most powerful foe. He is the one that he has almost always had to have friends with him to take on King Ghidorah. or Ghidorah if you want. In the American dubs, they alternate those two pronunciations pretty liberally. But in Godzilla versus Gigan, which is my favorite Godzilla film, it's one of the silliest, and also like it's one of the silliest in that like the basic premise is that aliens are trying to mind control the Japanese population through a children's park and through like radio waves at a children's theme park. But then it's all like, and the aliens are like cockroaches. But then it's also like Gigan, like one of the darkest ones, and it's like one of the first ones to really be pretty liberal with showing blood and shit. And the fight scenes get pretty brutal. But it's also Gigan is like a cyclops chicken with a laser eye and ice pick hands and a full operating table saw on his belly.
Because of course he is. Yeah,
but it's like that was the movie that really also solidified my love of Anguirus, because Anguirus, like there's a point where Godzilla and Gigan are both kind of temporarily out of the fight, and it's just Ghidorah and it's Anguirus. And Ghidorah, very consistently, probably most powerful arch nemesis of Godzilla. He's got his gravity beams. He's got 3 heads. He can fly. He's extremely strong. He's like 4 times larger than Anguirus. And Anguirus has no hesitation whatsoever. He's like, you can catch these hands. Let's go. And it's like he gets his ass kicked, but it's like, I gotta respect the guy who doesn't hesitate against impossible odds.
Yep.
So
yeah. So do you feel that brings up an interesting question that we're past the things that I wrote down, but like as an indie creative duo, do you ever feel like you're the up against impossible odds? Like trying to get your comic books out and finding your audience and getting them in people's hands. Like, does that ever feel like an insurmountable mountain in front of you?
It really depends like where we're trying to do it. We've honestly our convention presence has helped a lot. So doing some conventions. We were just in Harrisonburg, Virginia a few months ago. We're actually going to be in Virginia Beach this weekend. So for Tidewater Comic Con, that's a 2-day. And then we've got Fairfax coming up in August. And like people are super interested. Like they walk up, we chat their ears off for a little while, and they walk away with a couple comics. We've noticed that now that we have 2 available, it's a little bit easier. Having only 1, people are just kind of like, whatever. And like, we're like, no, but there's going to be 10. They're like, yeah, but there's only 1. So, but now we've got 2, we've got 3 on the way. So we're hoping, the wider markets we get to, and in places where we're not surrounded by just our friends who are wonderfully supportive, and we love them all for it. Just getting out there and just like kind of, and also just the social media beat, which is just wild, and the algorithm is my constant enemy.
Unpredictable.
It is, and I have to say, like Will is an absolute godsend for this, because like he actually is halfway decent with social media, and I hate it so much. I like conceptually I hate social media, and it's like like as soon as I start having to advertise myself, I'm like, nope, fuck it. Just like, I want so bad to be one of those like hidden gem Banksy types that like never reveals my face or talks to fucking anybody and just randomly gets extremely popular. That whole thing that happens all the fucking time. Get successful without the actual unpleasant parts of the work.
That part, that'd be great.
but he is so good about handling that shit. He keeps us on a much better schedule than I ever could, of like having regular updates, and he's had these brilliant ideas of like every week, we'll post updates about the comic, but then we'll also post like cyberpunk memes. Those, by the way, are hilarious. Like, I mean, I think they're funny memes, and I try and help come up with them where I can. But it's also really hilarious to post those memes in like cyberpunk fiction, like fandom, like groups on social media and stuff, because those groups hate those memes.
That's
Because
awesome.
our memes are like, they tend to be kind of like addressing like what cyberpunk actually is, and those groups are mostly people who would for sure sell their souls to Elon Musk if he could get them a laser dick. So
Yeah. I love, there was one that I saw as I was researching Hear That as reading all of your social media stuff.
yeah.
Of the because that's all research is at this point, is just let me look at the last month of social media. The meme of like, yeah, but why not have laser eyes? And like,
Yeah.
I saw 2 or 3 in a row that everybody had like this laser eye on top of them, and I'm like, this is
Yep.
gonna be a good time. Yep. This
And it's so funny to
Yeah.
see like
Was it the Spider-Man Mary Jane one?
no, it
I don't
was
know. There was
or the Boromir one.
it was the Boromir one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one does not simply
You walk into Southtown. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did another one where that was the Padme and Anakin one.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like he's like, I'm really into cyberpunk. She's like, for the social disparity, blah blah blah. And it cuts to him saying nothing and just like covered in like tech. And
Yeah.
like I think I even put like a Tesla logo and a Meta logo on him.
Yep.
She's like, right?
Right?
Yeah. And
And
it's so funny.
that was super easy for me. All I did was I just photoshopped one of the Terminator's eyes and
Perfect.
pasted it, and then
Yeah.
just altered all the color scheme.
Yep. And it's so funny because so many, like those same groups, you'll see so many posts that are along the lines of like, why is it always dystopian? What if we had some that was nice? That wouldn't be cyberpunk. Like conceptually, intrinsically, that wouldn't be any genre with punk in the name. So,
Yeah. So you're just writing a happy-go-lucky children's sci-fi book then. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, have fun
You're
with that because
yeah, all you're thinking is like, what if I had a laptop in my fingers?
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. So I mentioned that's I lied. I do have so in the write-up, it lists that there's a futuristic heists, there's shootouts, and there's criminal overlords. Because we've already talked about like 80s movies and stuff, I want to know each of your favorite fictional criminal overlords. And I know that that's a lot maybe to ask, so I'll tell you mine because I'm already prepared. Mine is the final boss of Streets of Rage 2.
Mr.
So
X.
that's why I loved when you were like Streets of Rage, because like shut the front door. Like I
Yeah.
already had him loaded in that magenta suit that he get, and just like the walking and the shooting everywhere and then sitting back down and letting his minions do everything.
Yes.
I just think he's a badass.
Yeah. He's
and
great.
a pain in the ass to beat.
He's great. And in Streets of Rage 4, in this one, it takes place like, 10, 15 years down the road, and his children, who for some reason have a different last name, they are the Y Syndicate.
Great. Yeah. Okay.
Mr. X had two children named Mr. and Mrs. or Mr. and Miss Y.
Blame Elon Musk because
Right.
now he's got an app called X, so they can't be
For
Mr.
sure.
X because that's him.
Of course. But not only are they in there, but also in the survival mode that they released with the DLC, it's just like a waves of enemies, and one of the things they bring in a bunch is like enemies from the first 3 games. And once you get into some of the later stages, you might have not only a big old wave of enemies, but Mr. X is in there with his fucking Tommy gun.
That's fantastic.
It's rad as hell. It's rad as hell. I am trying to think of a big bad that I like better than the Wayland Corporation, than Wayland Yutani. Like I'm trying to think, and nothing is coming to mind that I like better than Weyland Yutani.
Fair.
So yeah,
Well,
there's just like having not seen Alien until like 3 years ago or so,
yeah.
and like it's like, oh man, no, the 70s was very well aware of how fucked up late stage capitalism could be.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I took a whole class on 70s cinema and its applications to the 21st century. And it was one of my favorite classes I ever took because I was watching movies like Soylent Green, like
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes, like Rollerball, which I love the original, and the remake wasn't terrible, but the original, like, oh, I love that fucking movie so much.
Yeah, dude, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
What about you, Will?
Man, I just because I currently or recently finished reading it, I'm gonna go with this is gonna be relevant. The Smiler from Transmetropolitan,
Ooh, okay.
aka President Callahan.
Yeah.
Which wrapped up, I think, in like 2000 or 2001, but is a spitting image of Trump.
See, that's why I
Yeah.
said fictional, because if it's real life, like we already have our criminal overlords.
It's also when it's real
I'll-
life, we can't say that there are favorites. Like
Yeah.
like when they're real people who are
Yeah.
doing
But they're actually doing
I
things.
can't like them.
Yeah. I could say Gideon Graves from Scott Pilgrim.
Mm.
Gideon Graves is fucking good too. He's very good.
I also, so I love, because I love like just all the dystopian things. The Hunger Games for me is like, I love that book series and I'm actually rereading all of them right now. But President Snow is such a bastard, like, especially if you, so they did, Suzanne Collins wrote his story of like how he came to be who he was when he was a kid, all those things. And like he was one of the first mentors in the Hunger Games. It was like the 10th, and then Katniss and Peeta take place in the 74th. So it's like 64 years prior. And every time he starts to do something where you're like, oh, he's just misunderstood, he then pulls a DX like, nope, suck it, and just does something completely awful. And you're like, oh, you are a piece of trash, aren't you? Okay.
Yeah.
Like every time she builds him up to be a hero and then completely cuts him off at the knees with the credits thing. And I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Another
he's
one-
another one like that's just so easy to hate.
Yeah. Another one that like I really like that I think is a really, really well written villain who's like never discreet about it, but it's just he just has a charm because Anthony Birch was an incredible writer when he first came up with the character, is Handsome Jack from the Borderlands series.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like he's such a dick all the time, but he's really, really funny. And it's like in the context of this very tongue-in-cheek, but also pretty openly like this is like a really, really like dark capturing of what capitalism is too. Like your whole like respawn system after you die is that your body was cloned the first time you checked in with one of these systems, and then you just get like digitally reconstructed and you're charged for it every time it happens.
Perfect. Yeah.
And it's like it's funny because the company that's doing it, because there are a bunch of different brands like gun manufacturers throughout the games, and the one who actually controls the new U stations is what they're called, where you get your checkpoints and you can be reconstructed, is Hyperion, which is the company that Handsome Jack rules. So the entire time you're trying to kill him, you're also paying him every time you die.
That's awesome.
But it's also like, why does he keep having you come back?
Yeah.
So,
that's so good.
It's great.
So now we're at the end of my official notes, but I'm not done with you gents yet. I have two more things to do. The first is super easy. I'm going to take a screenshot. We're going to pose. I'm going to use this as the YouTube thumbnail. It's basically a way that makes my life easier and also can be a little bit of fun. So I'll get my shortcut here. And then what's cyberpunky? There's nothing that I can do because I don't have any tech here.
Oh damn, that thing is. Hold up. Actually, nope. I was hoping I had a thing that was disconnectable from.
I'm gonna be my keyboard here. So. All right, count of three, gents. 1, 2, 3. I'm not doing it right. There it is. There we go. I always have to hear the sound effect, and I know when I'm not doing it right. And all right, so that's the first one. That's just silly. The second one is I love talking to creators on this show. It's one of my favorite, like one of the reasons that I will not get tired of doing this, because I get to talk to people from all walks of life with all different backgrounds, that yet we still have that same through line of just loving indie comics. So at the end of every episode, I shut up and I like turning over the microphone to the creators that come on just to share anything that you want people to hear from you. It could be a pitch for Southtown. It could be something silly like never have a keyboard installed as your neck. The content doesn't matter so much as I just want everybody that comes on to have a space that they can share anything that's fully in your voice that I didn't prompt or anything like that. So the floor is yours. I'll let you rock, paper, scissors to figure out who goes first.
Will, I am notoriously long-winded, so I'll let you go first.
Well, not we. I guess first and foremost, I just want to say, well, thank you, Chris, for having us on the show.
Yes, thank you.
This was awesome. I'm glad we met up on Threads. Yep. And got this all figured out. And just like thanks to everyone who like stops by the table or has supported the Kickstarter, friends I haven't seen in years who have picked up a copy and read it and told us they either liked it or just kept their mouth shut if they didn't. But yeah, we're chugging along. We got more to do. We've got this fancy little ash can 4-page preview, which will be at Tidewater for anybody who purchases will get the sneak peek, and then we'll be launching the Kickstarter pretty soon after that. So hopefully we can hit our goal. That'll put more comics into print and more conventions on our schedule. And then, I mean, the more we can do, the further out we can go. And yeah.
Oh,
just thanks for joining us along for the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Again, thanks for having us, Chris. This has been super, super fun. Awesome. And I will go ahead and say, since the comic has been promoted, for one, definitely check out southtowncomic.com. Check out at Southtown_comic on Instagram. We've got Southtown Comic on Facebook. But also, yes, if you're in Richmond and you happen to see that QR code along with any stickers stuck randomly around the city that say "Keep RVA Punk," yep, that is not malware. Awesome. That'll just lead you straight to our website. But I will say, in the spirit of what is cyberpunk, and in the spirit of pissing off all the social media cyberpunk people, we try to make the story as fun and entertaining and engaging as possible. But you are always reading the story of people who are suffering under a dystopian hellscape. I am never telling the story. Like I'm never focusing the story around people who benefit, because the people who benefit under a cyberpunk or any sort of modern or postmodern dystopian world are never us. It is always the people who are actively pushing us down so that they can stand on our necks. And so remember, kids, that cyberpunk is a warning. It is not something to look forward to. Do not go into it looking forward to, laser eyes and robot arms that are owned by a company who is going to charge you a premium to live and breathe before too long. and be aware of when the world moves forwards in ways that are actively pushing us toward a dystopian hellscape. And as much as it would be cool, the reality situation probably won't have nearly enough neons, and you will probably not end up being the murderous hellion that you look up to when you read stories about these people. You will be the person getting shot down by the cops. So don't take part in bringing about a dystopian hellscape. And it's so
just say no.
Just say no to laser dicks. But but also
all right, that's actually going to go in the
just say no to laser dicks.
Right.
But there are a lot of very real things that are happening. People are having their rights taken away from them, and people are actively supporting that because it makes us feel safer and more comfortable. People are trading human capacity and human self-reliance for AI that can just make everything easier, and taking jobs away from people, and because your average person will always choose ease and comfort and affordability over quality. Don't actively push towards the things that will make human art and experience obsolete. So that's what I will say in my little cyberpunk soapbox here.
It's perfect.
The artwork is better than that. So in case people were worried. What have I been promoting?
A whole zine of propaganda of say no to laser discs, say no to hollow tits. Like you could do there's a whole thing there just waiting to be tapped into. So if you do it, just throw Longbox Punk on there somewhere.
Absolutely.
Got to be shameless, right? So so guys, this was a ton of fun. I needed this on a Monday, honestly. I'm changing my ending. Usually I give my tagline of like, go do what's good for you punks and read some indie comics, which you should do. But because I told you I was going to save a certain thing that I thought of earlier, this is that thing. So when I was in college radio, I was part of several shows, and one of them, cleverly, we thought was called The Hour of Seduction. And for an hour on Wednesday nights, from 9 to 10 p.m., because that was during safe harbor hours, so we could cuss and say whatever we wanted to and talk raunchy stories and have callers and all that stuff. We would have callers that would call in, and if they were boring us, or if they were bigots, or if they were clearly being against other type of people, we would do what we called Wil Smithing people, where we would start, like they'd be in the middle of a story, and then all of a sudden we'd be like, wicka wicka wow, west, Jim West, Desperado, Rough Rider, no you don't want nada, none of this is good in this, brother, reminisce, buffalo so